Well, this is the living legend, Jimmy Cliff, with the Mightycrown.
Mightycrown for Irish ruler.
Yo, this is Mightycrown for Irish ruler.
Hey yo, you know, Mightycrown, you know we step around to enliven the town and let fools go down. Hey yo, you know.
Very, very sad.
Well, we've been discussing all these kind of stuff, what's the good and the bad in the business, I should say. But what do you think the business is missing right now? And what kind of improvement do you think is needed?
That's the $30,000 question, isn't it? What is missing from the business and what is needed to improve it? Well,
especially from the elder's point of view who's been in the business so long, you know?
I think that we need more direction and we need more A&R at ground level. And why do I say that? Well, if we look, and we have to look to the history to understand this, don't we? Because history always teaches us.
Yeah.
That if Dennis Brown and Gregory Isaacs and Toots and the Maytals and the Abyssinians, and the list is long, of great stars who've written and recorded magnificent songs, be it at Treasure Isle or Channel One or Studio One, Harry J, there is a heritage, and this heritage is rich and deep. What made those songs so successful? They were well written, they were well produced. You and I have just listened to a song earlier on by the Tenors, recorded in '69, produced by Leslie Collin. The arrangement, the production, speaks for itself. A great lead vocal, good harmonies, a wonderful hook, and a storyline. Here's an example. Spider-Man used to be the engineer that did the mastering over at Dynamic, and he now does mastering at Gussie Clarke's Music Waves. I was talking to him earlier on this year about the new music emulating from Jamaica, and he said one of the problems he has technically is when people the younger producers bring him songs to master, he explains to them that he can't master them because they haven't been recorded correctly. Actually, the recording procedure, the business of recording. The other problem, I think, is the lack of cohesion, the lack of communion, the lack of a spiritual gathering of influence when musicians work together in a team. And that can be again reflected upon when you consider the work that came out of all the studios I just mentioned. Epitomised in the heart of their calm, where Jimmy Cliff's in the studio with the session musicians and they're all playing together. If you're singing over a computerised rhythm, I'm not saying some computerised rhythms can't be brilliant, they can be, but I think that feeling of that spiritual communion, that musical communion that happens when a group of musicians working together with an artist, like the sound I mentioned at Studio One, with Leroy Sibbles and the Heptones, and Bob Andy, and Delroy Wilson, and the Wailers, and everyone hanging out together in the studio all day and having lunch together. And, do you know, we're going to bust that rhythm, we're going to try that rhythm again this afternoon, gentlemen. You know, we're going to go back and do that again. And then the careful attention to detail to get it right. And famously, you know, the story of Cox and Dodd saying, if you don't get the harmonies right on this, it'll be an instrumental. The fact that there was so much, the fact that people made records not for money. Those artists didn't make those songs to make money, they made them because they had to. They wanted to. The Abyssinians, I mean, the list is long. So I would say we need more A&R, we need people, we need auditions, we need producers and arrangers. There is a difference between a producer and a financier and a producer and an arranger. The musicians, you know, I think Dean Fraser is the perfect example of someone who is hands-on in terms of production. Look at Taurus Riley and all the success he's been that he has created through good production. So the essence is in the production, and equally importantly, in how that is then delivered to the public. How is that? How does it translate beyond just being slapped up on the internet as a free download to the idea of it being special? I think we've walked away from the idea of songs being special. There was a time when a song came out and you would hear it on one radio station from one DJ. You You couldn't get it any other way. Or, I'm not saying that DJ should be me or it should be you, but there was an element in the beginning of songs being special because you only heard them in one place at one time, and people, you know, Josh Shaka's got this tune, have you heard it? He's been playing it. Only Shaka's got it. There was that element. Mightycrown have this tune, they were playing it in Tokyo last week, but nobody else has got it. It's the new Baby Sham or it's the new Bounty Killer, but no one else has got it. So that idea that something is special, I think the artists and the producers and the engineers are guilty sometimes of just, it's out there, let's bang it up on the internet, boom, anyway, it's free download, and it's no longer special, it's just there, it's everywhere. Is that something to do with that? Possibly. And the way it's recorded and mastered is very important. And what about the idea of it being special? Of making a limited edition run of, you know, 500 copies on a 7-inch. You know, these are all things, you know, we're living in an audio age, so you don't need to see something, you don't need to feel it, you just need to hear it. Not true. I don't believe that's true.
Doesn't that also come from like that sound system culture? Like sound system used to only play this certain song.
Oh, absolutely, that's where it started. If you want to hear, you know, a particular song or group of songs, you know that you're only going to hear them for 3 months on Sir Coxson's sound in London, or Josh Shaka, or Fatman, or King Tubby's London, as opposed to King Tubby's Jamaica. And that's what, you know, that's gone. There is easy access to everything, and by definition, if something is easily accessible and easily available, it loses its rare quality, it loses its magnetism to a degree.
Is it because of like things and times? Of course, this changed. The technology came in, and the thing I really feel is about the way how the music is being produced, as you told us. It's so fast now, right? And do you think like there's so much amount now, like released?
But who can keep up? And here's the other problem, and I think this is a big problem, I say straight to camera. Breaking a hit and maintaining that is a hit. Where's the reference anymore? Where's the point of reference? Before, it became apparent in a short space of time that a song was destined to hit. Because there was a chart, there were record shops where people would go again, you'd have this communion, people meeting and discussing and talking and hearing a record that people want. Now, a record can be, there's a hit record in Paris, another one in Berlin, where is the common ground that we used to have in terms of a point of reference? There's too much music because anyone and everyone can make music. That's a good thing in one way because it means it's freeing up the system, there's more freedom of expression. But the other problem is there's so much music that selectors are dazed and confused. I mean, if I show you my mailbag, it's still, and that's with vinyl, there's still a lot of stuff coming out of vinyl. If I show you the emails with music that I get every week, I mean, if I was to open every email and download every song and listen to every song on the 10 versions that I'm sent, I'd go stir crazy.
So how do you pick them? Like,
well, it's very difficult. I mean, I try to listen to everything, but sometimes it's just physically not possible.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able, because even that reaches me. Like, and then I'm, you know, I try to keep up, I guess, more of the new music.
Yeah, of course.
But I still can't catch up.
No, because there's so much. I mean,
So how do you pick? Like, well, is it like basically through the artists or basically certain producers?
Yes, artists of course count, production houses count, reputation counts. You see something coming from a camp that you know has made good music, then you're going to be attracted to opening that. I do take potluck with new stuff that I've never heard of by artists I've never heard of. I do listen, but often you're left wanting more. You're realizing that perhaps this is the way it is because not enough homework's being done. But you're governed by recognition of production camps, producer, arranger, record label, stroke organization, and artist. There are certain people that make good records. And in the old days, you knew that something on Channel 1 or certain labels, people would buy records on a label because they associated the label with good production. Yeah. So now we're dependent upon The old production houses, those of them are still working, sending us stuff by email. I still love to receive something on hard copy because it makes for more interesting listening because you've got something to refer to. But it is potluck. A lot of the time it's just sheer chance, you know. And I mean that Rough Road rhythm, I love that rhythm. It's by an outfit called the Green Lion Crew. I'd never heard of the Green Lion Crew. They were unknown to me. I heard this rhythm, it was different, I thought it was very exhilarating, and then there's a Chronix piece on it, a Kabaka Pyramid. This is a new team. You've got to have an open mind, you've got to be seeking and finding new music as a selector, because that's what selectors do. You can't just, you know, we can't just keep on playing the same old.
Okay, I see. Well, it's a long, nice interview, and like you see a lot of good stuff here. But this is gonna be my last question. Thanks for your time and all these. My last question would be, what as an elder know can you inspire, or like, you know, who's coming? Yeah, basically, how can you inspire the young youths then, like the new selector that will come up and want to become like David Rodigan, maybe in the future?
My message to new young selectors would be, remember the music comes before all of us. Without the music, we are nothing. Really, we are nothing. If it wasn't for the engineers, the players of instruments, the songwriters and the singers, we wouldn't have anything to play. So we must always remember that the music is everything, it is paramount. Put the music first and everything else falls into place, in my experience. Do your homework, be mindful that you're playing to various types of people in different dances, that the world doesn't exist based around on how many dub plates you've got, but how you play the dub plates that you've got, or the vinyl that you've got. A good selector should be able to entertain an audience with a box of 45s, or a few MP3s, or some tracks on his laptop or on his CD player. Whichever format you're using, the essence is look at your crowd, judge your crowd, anticipate what you think they'd like to hear and play for them. Moody DJs can be boring. Don't play for yourself, play for your audience, but play with your heart and soul. And I believe that you communicate that feeling and love for what you're playing to your audience, and they throw it back. So it's kind of, it's a love game, you know. It's love, it's the music which makes the evening special. So what's the difference between listening to a selector playing in a club or listening to records at home? Well, the club is the place where everyone comes together, and there's a group mentality which develops. If you, that sounds a little grandiose, but there is a feeling in a club because of that venue, because of the sound system and the people there, that as an evening progresses, and this is the other thing about going to a dance early out, as we've all done, and feeling that vibe build and feeling that love within that group of people listening. And as a selector, you're duty bound to serve and serve them well. That's your job. And always remember, finally, that when you do become successful, there's always another young group of selectors who want to be successful too. And as Jack Lemmon, the famous Hollywood actor, said, when you get to the top, make sure you send the lift back down again, because there's somebody on the ground floor who'd like to come up too. Thank you, Sami. Thank you, Mightycrown. Thank you, Japan, for your love of the music, which we know is devout and deep. And thanks to Mightycrown, not because I'm talking to you on your website, but thanks to Mightycrown for your inspiration and your true love of the music. Respect. Over, but not out. David Rodigan. All is mercy. Thanks, Sami.